My name is Ren, I am the last known renegade, and I am unfortunately your host today. I apologise for my accent, I do in fact come from Cork. I will now let my lovely panellists introduce themselves, starting with Kit at the end.
Hello. I don't know if this is on, but my name is Kit. On Instagram and TikTok and everywhere you can find me at kit_I.guess. And I do printing commissions. Mostly 3D printing is what I do. Just a couple of bits on the side, but yeah.
Hi, I'm Teyrncrow. I mainly work with foam. I've been cosplaying for about 9 years, and my main expertise, anyway, is just anything really budget-based, for armor, so pepper and whatnot. I both compete and judge, so yeah, it's quite fun.
Hi, I'm Sean. I go by TheIrishSpartan. I've been cosplaying for about 7 years, 8 give or take, and making costumes for the last 2.5. I mostly focus on 3D printed costumes and commissions.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm at Dorn_cosplay on Instagram. I've been cosplaying for about 10 years, mainly video game characters like Halo, as you can see, and then a Witcher as well. I do other cosplays like Star Wars, Hellboy, a lot. Cosplaying for about 10 years, and I've won a cosplay competition at IGM.
So now that you met our lovely panelists, I'm going to ask them a few questions just to get the ball rolling on how we get on. So I'm going to ask the general panel, what got you into cosplay? What was the character you wanted, or was it even the cosplayer that you saw that made you go, actually, I want to do this? I open that to whoever wants to go first.
When I was younger, I used to be obsessed with watching cosplay compilations on YouTube, and I was just so fascinated by the idea of it. And then it was the good old year of 2020 that I got my first convention ticket, which was then unfortunately delayed. But I got cosplay together still, and I managed to. There was an open call with Draw the Photography Club for cosplayers, and I ended up shooting with them, and that definitely secured that I fell in love with cosplay immediately. And I was like, I need to make more of right now.
Awesome.
Well, I've always loved getting dressed up. It was always a running thing in the family where we dressed up for Halloween. We took Halloween very seriously, and we loved scaring people, so it just never left. Then started looking at making costumes from shows. My first cosplay I made was a Ranger from Fallout in Vegas. Just yesterday gone, I made one, the Elite Ranger, with the brand new 3D printer I used, so it's came full circle. The first time I debuted, the Ranger was at DCC in 2019. Then come back yesterday, I got to debut the upgraded version of it. But making costumes is fun, gives you a break from reality for a little while.
Myself, I used to love Mythbusters, and I loved Adam Savage, and so I was watching him on YouTube and start seeing him talk about cosplay and whatnot, and at the time I was very into Naruto, and I decided to actually look more into cosplay, and I started off with a Toby cosplay around 2016, 2017, and yeah, pretty much snowballed from there.
And for me, Halloween was a big thing in our house as well. We would just make costumes out of whatever show or movie I was watching at the time. The first one that I think we made was Darth Maul. We made a custom dual lightsaber, which was pretty awesome. And yeah, it was just a big thing, and just kind of went from there. As soon as I started seeing Comic-Con and everything, we went to one Comic-Con in cities, and then went, hang on, people are dressing up as this. We're going to do Halloween more than once a year. Doing that. So it started off with like just going into loads of different stuff.
Amazing. So, right now, obviously, a lot of you would have made a bunch of cosplays, you have done a bunch of stuff. What is your dream cosplay? Something you haven't done yet? It could be from anime, it could be from sci-fi, it could be from a video game, it could be whatever.
Since I got into printing, I've always loved the idea of doing a Mandalorian cosplay, but I wanted to put like some type of spin on it. So I've started planning on a crossover Mandalorian cosplay, and I'd love to do something arcane inspired. So I'm actually starting to look into doing that soon, but that's definitely like the dream at the moment.
Currently, I am planning on doing a wartime overseer of the Abbey, specifically a Dunwall version, which only shows in a painting in Dishonored 2, but currently that is my dream cosplay, and it's mainly looking after sewing and leather.
Dream cosplay, I've done that with Emil and Noble 5 and Halo Reach, and I do love them, but I've got two of them in my mind at the moment. One is an ODST from Halo, because who doesn't love smooth jazz? The other one is Adam Smasher from Cyberpunk, Edge Runners. I know that's going to be a huge problem, mostly for space, because when you've got two Spartans in the house, you have a part with ODST at the moment. You've Johnny Silverhand, you've got Husk, and you've got Vander's Gauntlets now. You're trying to find space for everything. But Smasher is definitely something I'd love to have, because I've always made costumes that are the hero, especially like the big guy here, who was love playing a hero, but it's a lot more fun to play a villain, so Smasher is definitely something that I want to get my hands on.
For me, I'm pretty much in my dream cosplay of my multiplayer TheIrishSpartan. But past that, going forward, I'd like to do a Warhammer Space Marine. Titus actually is the one I'd like to do.
Woohoo! Savage. So the last thing I'll ask just before we get into like the real nits and gritty of actually building armor is what motivates you to start building? Is it artistic expression? Is it wanting measurements to your size? Is it lack of affordable options? Like, there's a variety of options, so I'm wondering from you guys, what would be your reason for making your own?
You kind of hit on the head, you know? You said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah. Look, you build a massive hyperfixation like this. The game came out on Halloween, and on November 1st, I started making the cosplay. It's really just the love for what it is.
For me, it was the idea of like being able to create for other people that kind of got me into it, because the first 3D printed thing I ever made, I didn't actually have the printer myself. It was my friend in the crowd over there, hi Essie, who printed in pieces a chestplate armor for my partner. I think I see him walk in. Hi. It was his dream to cosplay Red Hood. He was very particular about the chestplate that he wanted, and we couldn't find one anymore. So I wanted to be able to help him get his cosplay exactly how he wanted it. So I managed to get the 3D printed off of himself and then stick them all together, create it. And I was so happy with how it turned out that I was like, I'm gonna do this for more people, because I don't wear many 3D printed cosplays myself, but the ability to give them for like other people, like really just, it's very motivating.
For me, it was just there was a lack of things that would go with whatever costume I wanted to do at the time. I already mentioned that having to make a dual lightsaber stuff, because at the time for Darth Maul, the shops had just gone out of those lightsabers, so we were like, you know what, we'll just get two regular ones, put them together, make it ourselves. That kind of started the making aspect of cosplay.
Savage. So it all starts with materials and choosing what's right for you. So using EVA foam. For someone who is a novice, has never heard of the damn thing, what is EVA foam?
So EVA foam is like this weird plastic mix. I don't know much about chemistry, but the densities there's more molecules basically of this plastic, so it's more rigid and closer to a plastic the higher the density. So low density, very nice, very squishy. You wouldn't use it for much. So you might use it for some like a little bit of armor, or you might use it for a prop if you put something to stabilize it in. But golden one is medium. Medium is relatively rigid, and it is your go-to for armor. And high density is really only for shields and stuff like guns, or like if you wanted to make like Sean's bloody Vander gauntlet, you would have to use like high density, because the angles on it would break too easily. But then there's other types, so you can use some craft foam. So take the range, for example. You can get 2 mil foam. This is very good for detailing. You can get that for a few cents. And then there's floor mats. So if you go to Halfords, or if you go to B&Q or Woodies, you may find they may be down as car mats or whatnot. Your most definite way is usually martial arts mats, is what they may be down as.
Or kids' floors.
Wait.
The one that we started off with, so our first costume I made from was a ranger. We made it out of foam. And now at the time I didn't think about the important things. Being able to see, being able to breathe, and being able to move.
Cosplay isn't about like your safety, right?
Yeah.
It's about something.
When you look good, it's fine, but when you've got contact adhesive in a very enclosed space for a few hours, it's not great. And that's for the face mask. You know, that we didn't think about how to breathe. We made it look great. When it comes to the foam as well, the best, if you're starting off making foam projects, it's all about layering. So if you've got something that's very detailed, if you get foam that's 1 millimeter thick or 2 millimeters or even 5 millimeter thick, you basically layer to that. So if you've got a Dremel, or if you've got time to use a box cutter or even a scalpel or a craft knife, they're the best ways to cut through it. And if you get your angles right, you can just layer to that. Then you do sanding on top of it, and it helps with those pieces. Like for an example, I have one of our costumes over here. The big guy's about to stand up.
Do a walk. Catwalk.
What does that mean with you?
Catwalk.
So we've got a little catwalk here. So the likes of the big guy here,
Do it
his
twirl.
chest itself is 3D printed. When you look at his biceps, his backpack, his biceps, and his thighs are made of foam.
Hey yo.
So it all comes down to layering and shaping it. Now you've kind of killed a couple of segments there, but you cover everything, more or less. That's true, cosplaying, folks.
Thanks our beautiful model.
But
Go.
but when it comes to foam, there are many different shapes you can buy. So with these bracers, for example, these are half dowels. So you can use them, like there's a lot of different shapes. So Cosplay Shop BE, for example, they will have basically any shape you can even come up with. They have it as some form of a dowel. And then when it comes to fine detailing, so we have Cullen over there. Now Cullen has a lion head, right? You can't get that by just patterning and making. It's just not possible because, yeah, that's too smooth, it's not geometric. So foam clay, for example, build up. You got the nice brows, you got the eyes, you got the snout, you got lips. You would have to just layer, as he said, you have to layer and layer and layer. But the number one thing about foam is please heat seal. Heat seal, because otherwise your paint's coming off. It will not last. But when it comes to patterns, you should go onto Etsy, or you can find tutorials online, and usually they offer free patterns and you can just use them and alter them for your needs. So this cosplay, for example, was all altered patterns, some of my own, some of other cosplayers.
Cool. So the next question I was going to ask is, what should people do when using EVA foam? So obviously you mentioned the risks of using certain types of glue and ventilation and such, as well as using a Dremel to kind of sort out to smooth out the edges and such. Is there anything else that people should look at before starting, just so that they're not only making sure they're getting the right tools to start with EVA foam, but also to make sure that they're safe?
So for safety, if you are sanding using any form of electric sander, please wear a ventilator. Not like one of those dust masks. I mean a proper almost gas mask looking one, because your lungs will hurt so bad. I have done it myself, and the pain is really bad in your lungs.
Everyone vapes, it should be fine, no?
Yeah, when you're sneezing out black dust and your snot is black, I don't think so. I don't think it's good.
You were warned, ladies and gentlemen. Don't say you weren't given the graphic detail.
That applies for sanding 3D prints and L. If you are sanding anything, especially large things, or if you do this frequently, you need a ventilator, or I often do it outside, because otherwise, if you do this for prolonged periods of time, you can develop chemical bronchitis, which is very serious,
It is.
that we don't want to get.
It's painful.
Cosplay's about pain, but it's not about chemical bronchitis. Be safe.
If you do have an outdoor workshop, the one thing that I did see recently pop up on a video, someone duct taped a Hoover nozzle to their desk. So when they're sanding, it's taking in some of the dust. Now we don't have the money to get extractor fans and build an actual workshop. So some of us are doing it inside sheds, some of us are doing it outdoors. If you can do it outdoors, it makes it just a little bit safer. Black dust isn't great. It's not great when you blow your nose and it's just it's not pretty. But if you can get a KN95 mask, it'll do the job, because a lot of us here, we work on a budget. If you are going to be doing long-term projects, if you want to start getting into commissions, if you're looking to do major work, upgrading and getting an actual ventilator mask, one that you can swap out the filters quite frequently, is definitely something you do need to look into. Otherwise, you are going to regret it when you're 40 years old and you're dealing with COPD. So it's something you need to look into in the long term. Another thing is, if you're 3D printing, you might be working with fumes as well. So if you're soldering, so a lot of the pieces you see, even Vander's gauntlets, or even his pipe, or even likes of Brian's suit, a lot of the pieces are welded using a soldering iron or a pyrography pen. You are going to be breathing a lot of fumes. So if you're going to be doing that for long periods of time, even if it's outdoors, you still need to get a decent ventilator, or a rebreather or something just to help you get through that, because it's not going to be fun when you're older. It's not a good look.
Just another thing with foam. I highly suggest just skipping the hot glue. Use contact adhesive. Do have a mask, some ventilator, or do it outdoors. But always, if you're using hot glue, use it over your seams once you finish making things on high stress pieces. So the inside of this helmet, for example, is all hot glue on the inside because the dome is quite fragile. But hot glue, the issue is when you have wet armors and build up the heat, because you are going to sweat like mad in foam armor. It will slowly start to melt the hot glue, and you'll find the more you wear it, the more it pulls apart. So skip the hot glue, straight to contact adhesive if you want your pieces to last, and then hot glue on the back if you just want a little bit of protection, but not to actually glue the seams together.
So the last thing I'm going to ask is regarding the EVA foam. Without going into a sponsorship talk about this crowd or blah blah blah, no link in bio, where would you recommend people go to get EVA foam?
Personally, just for quick shipping, I go to Arachnid. But if time isn't an issue, I would just go to cosplay.be, which is a German one. You may see commonly cosplay, for example. That's that YouTube channel is basically built off stuff you can buy there.
One place would be good if you're not looking to go to Arachnid FX and you're kind of dabbling in getting into cosplay, you're trying to make the armor pieces, and you don't want to waste money getting foam that's going to be for your full builds. If you go to the likes of the range, as Teyrn mentioned, you can get craft foam, or if you want to just start off making pieces, you can get kids floor mats from the likes of Woody's or B&Q, or even the car mats, as you said. They are cheap, and you can buy them in a big pack. Now you can get big rolls from Arachnid FX as well, and that's somewhere I'd usually go for my foam if I'm working with it, but unfortunately for me it's mostly 3D printed pieces. But if you're looking to keep a budget small, the range, Woody's, B&Q, hardware stores, and try and get the floor mats if you can.
Cool. So now let's move on to 3D printing. So I gotta ask, 3D printing, it's magic, isn't it? You're just popping cosplays out of nowhere.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. You've got the nail on the head. No, my mother is obsessed with my 3D printer, and she cannot wrap her head around how it works. She's like, but it's just threads of plastic, and then it's like a whole thing. How does it work? But the plastic that we use comes in spools, which is almost like a thick thread, which is run through the machine and melted and pushed through the nozzle. And the nozzle is the one that makes the shape, and it builds up in layers.
And the nozzle is very hot, so you keep your fingers away from it at all times.
Yeah, and always wait for it to cool down if you've just after printed something and you need to fix it. Wait for things to cool down swear to God, I'll find you.
You'll find us.
I'll find you. Do not burn yourself in your printer. That's standard printing nozzle, like temperature on my nozzle is 220 degrees Celsius, so it is extremely hot.
Yeah, make sure you don't burn yourself, obviously, as Kate said, but also take care of your printer because they are very finicky things at times. And if you don't take care of it, it will not take care of you. I learned that the hard way.
So did I.
Same here. But yeah, just keep up the maintenance on it, and then you're going to get magical prints. They look brilliant, and you'll have very little work to do on them.
As long as you keep your printer clean and the nozzle clean. Some printers you can get that are enclosed, and I'm starting to look at upgrading my printer because it's an open case one. If you get one that's enclosed, it's going to keep as much of the dust away from the gears and the important parts. Like this piece here, now I didn't print this one myself, but you can see that it's clean enough when it comes to printing. Over here. So as Ross printed, the lines are pretty clean. So when you're coming to sanding these pieces, you want as clean of a print as you can because it means that you're not going to be spending hours. Now if you're hand sanding, you're still going to be spending hours sanding regardless. It's not going to make much of a difference, but if you can invest in one thing, it is a power sander. They are the best thing you can get. It's only a small little mini hand sander. They're about €25. You can get them in B&Q and Woodies. Sometimes it will break after a couple of months if you're excessively using it, as I've learned the last few times. It's like a very bad situation because unfortunately I just cannot give up on the sander. I just find it so light, it's easy to pick up, and even though it's going to break, I'm still going to go buy and get another one. I'm going to buy the exact same one. But when it comes to smooth prints, like Sylvander's gauntlets here, which you guys can have a look at later on when the talk is finished, that is what you get when you have the hand sand as well. So if you're using a power sander, you sand from 40 grit to about 240. Then after that, it's the hand sanding. So that's when you put the primer on it, you start hand sanding it, and you can just keep repeating the cycle until you're happy with the finish. And then you can start putting the primer on it and the actual paint. So the smoother, depending what type of material it is, if it's supposed to look like metal, you want it to nearly feel like metal. You want to make it need to look like glass. You know, you can almost see yourself in the reflection. Like looking into a bald person's head, you can almost see yourself. I know because I've got this one of these. But it's yeah.
That was such an unnecessary comment, whoever said that.
Friendly fire will not be accepted here, so I'm taking the shots.
Switching sides.
I will just say, don't just directly paint your raw prints. The lines will become immediately visible, so even if you think, I can't really see lines, the moment paint touches it, you will see the lines.
Absolutely. I apparently enjoy torturing myself, and I do hand sand everything. I do not have an electric sander. I probably should get one, but I hand sand everything.
Carpal tunnel is a bitch in the future.
Oh yeah, but what I found made the sanding process 10 times easier is when I get a print fresh off, I give it a wee rub down with like a medium grit sandpaper, and then I use resin, and I paint it on. I mix it with a little bit of baby powder to make it thicker, and then I paint it on. And I didn't do it on this one, so when you're up close to it, you can see little bits of the lines, but the resin fills all it up, smooths it over, and you still need to sand it a lot afterwards because it won't be entirely even. But these small, like fine detail lines of the printer, that goes away. That issue becomes so much smaller, and I love my resin now.
So the one question I think most people have when it comes to a 3D printer, because there's obviously an initial like big cost to it. How much is the actual running cost, would you estimate? Like between electricity bills, between its buying other stuff, would you say it's a lot? Would you say it's little?
It's not too expensive. I said I mostly do commissions, so I do try work out costs for what the running of a printer is, so I can put that into the cost of the final product. And I charge based off of, you can find in your like local electricity place and stuff, how much they charge you for your electricity per hour. And the way that they recommend it is you find what it is to run at the high time and you charge that per hour of printing. So when I'm working at the coast, this helmet took 24 hours to print in total, so it was €2 per hour of printing. And then other than that, you do have to buy a filament quite regularly, but if you buy that in bulk, it does work out cheaper. They're about €25 for a kilo, or you can buy 5 for 100, so you're basically getting one free.
Cool. So how, I think you guys already answered this when you were talking about like the sanding and the painting, about like how much work do you actually do when it comes to putting it in. So I guess the next question I have would be, what type of printer do you use? Like if you were someone who just wanted to start 3D printing now, whether it's for big projects, small projects, what type of printer would you recommend?
Want to go first?
You go first.
The one I use at the moment is the FL Sun Super Racer. It is a quicker printer. It's quieter than any Ender series that you're going to find. It has a round base with a tri-arm kind of nozzle.
Oh.
So it makes very smooth prints compared to like your standard one that will be on a bar that will jut around everywhere. This one's a lot smoother to work with.
For my first time I got a printer, I started off with the Creality Ender 3 Ender 3 V2. That was what I used to make that big suit over there. You don't have to stand up, it's okay. I killed the printer making that costume. The chest alone was 165 hours printing. It wasn't fun. Sorry about this, but yeah, it was a big project because that was 16 individual pieces in the suit. Even though we swapped out this is another thing about looking after your printers. Even though we swapped the components, we swapped the display board, we swapped the nozzle, the gears, the arms, we swapped nearly the whole printer itself, it refuses to work. I killed its machine spirit. It's given up on life.
It's obesities is a printer, basically.
Yeah.
Instead of a ship, it's a printer.
Yeah. But I would recommend, if you're looking to start getting into printing, there's a crowd called Bamboo Labs. They have an A1 mini series now. It'll sit on a desktop or even a bed, a night counter or a bedside nightstand. Thank you. It will fit on that small. It will fit any computer desk if you're using it as well. You can get larger versions of it, and you can get ones that are more or less workhorse levels. So that's like the X1C Carbon. That one will set you back about 1,300. But it will do the job because it also comes with like an AMS system, which is automatic loading system. So you don't have to watch the filament run out. So if you have something that's printing for 24 hours and you're down to the last few grams on your spool, instead of having to watch that, the AMS system will load the next reel onto it. So you can basically just plug and play and walk away from it. Setting up as well, if you're not technically gifted, and even I wasn't when I tried to set up the first printer, Bamboo Labs, you basically take it out of the box, you cut some cable ties, you get rid of the styrofoam packing, you plug it in, you play, you download the software off the website, and that's it. The software completely works for you. So it's nearly all in the house, apart from getting the files on. You have to get your own files, of course, but it does most of the work, and you can send the files from the computer to the printer. So instead of loading onto an SD card and then plugging into the computer or into your printer, it just does it wirelessly. So that's why I love Bamboo. It's not as complicated and it's more or less all in the house, so it makes life a little bit easier.
For my first printer, I decided to skip all the smaller ones and make the investment piece straight away because I knew I wanted a large build plate because I knew I was going to be mostly printing helmets. And as I discovered from my first time printing, or like not printing, but making the chest plate and getting it all in separate pieces, sticking them together was a pain. And I didn't want to do that forever, so I went straight for the Creality K1 Max, which is a 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter build plate. So I can print these helmets all in one, don't need to stick them together, and it has brought peace to my life. So I went straight for that, and I got it off 123.ie. It's
123.3D.
123.3D, yeah. Their basic thing was actually, they have also been really helpful since after buying my printer because any questions I've had, you've been able to contact them. They will troubleshoot for you sometimes, and there's been a time where I've had to send them my printer. They've arrived the next day. They did run into some issues when they had it, but they have been very helpful for helping with issues since getting the printer. But having the large one definitely was the right move for me. But buying it from there, I was able to get the printer as well as 5 spools of filament for €1,000 flat, which was far below market value for anywhere else, which was very good.
Fair play. So, what other materials have you used besides obviously EVA foam and 3D printing have you used to make your cosplays?
When it comes to other methods, like there's this thing called pepakura, and you can do this with paper, cardstock, or cardboard, and you can make really cool things. I think I have a photo there just like of a Red Hood helmet.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I am hefty and I'm able to stand on that. That thing could not die when I tried to put it in the bin because it did not fit me because I got my maths wrong. So yeah, do your maths right when it comes to measuring your head. But
anybody complimented the cosplay, I couldn't resist but tell them the fun fact that the belt was made out of the centerpiece off of a steering wheel for a Moffat Mountie forklift.
Why am I not surprised?
My dad makes forklifts. So he had some spares, he took them home, and I sprayed them up the right color, and it worked out well.
I'm just saying that's very impressive.
Yeah.
So, can crafting be a budget friendly, or are we all doomed to be on the dole tomorrow?
I think we'll start off budget friendly, and the more invested you get, the more money you're willing to put into it. And sometimes that money pays for itself, but sometimes things are getting a little expensive when you want to buy the better fabrics or the better printer filaments. But it definitely, starting off, is definitely cheap.
I think it's also really a planning thing. So when it comes to even like working with foam, you need to get your patterns right the first time, because if you mess up, it's going to get expensive, because rolls are usually 20 to 30 euro depending on the thickness and the density. But if you mess up, you can always measure again. You can never cut it again. It's always measure twice, cut once.
And if somebody else is measuring themselves for you, please make sure that they've measured the right thing. I once made an entire template for somebody only to realize that they didn't send the measurement that I thought they did, and I had to make it from the start.
Don't look at me.
It wasn't you!
Okay, I was like, wait, this sounds very targeted.
Oh God, I swear.
With 3D printing, it is all about planning. I made a meal, so it's the big wonderful face up there on the screen. That was about 10 reels to go into it. It was made from Impact PLA, and that's about 25 euro a reel. So it was about, it was 10 reels. It was 10 kilograms of filament. So it does add up very quickly. Then you start adding electricity costs. So when you're making a full 3D printed costume, it is going to be expensive. That's why it's best to put on the long run. Now that meal costume took me about 8 months to make, from start to finish. Now I work full time as well, so everything was done in after hours. If I had the time, I probably could have got it done in about 2-3 months, but it still took about 8 months to make the full suit. It's all about planning. As long as you know how much filament it's going to take. So if you can see the files online, you can split the pieces up so you can cut your 3D prints, make them smaller, and you can see how much filament it's going to eat. That way you can plan out, okay, it's going to take me about 5 reels to make a helmet, it's going to take me 10 reels to make a full suit, 20 reels to make a full army. You never know, but there's the options there. You know how much it's going to cost you in the long run.
Yeah, a good way for you to help planning when doing a 3D printed armour is use an application on your computer called Armourers. All you have to do is just do your measurements for yourself. You can then upload those measurements onto it. It makes a little model of you or what you look like, and then you can just size your bits of armour if you're 3D printing on them. That way you know what size things need to be, how big, how wide, how much filament you might need for it. It's the handiest way to do it.
Cool. How long can a project take?
Months.
Forever.
I have been working on this since November 1st. I finished it Friday night. So I'm just gonna stand up. This is a more basic project compared to Brian's Halo cosplay. But even simple things like this can take months. The armor itself took nearly 5 months because I'm a full-time college student and I end up working a lot, so it just ends up being, it's just a very time consuming, especially with foam. You have to sand your foam, and unfortunately, you don't get to use machines. You have to wet sand.
Dremel, you can use that for up to a degree.
Up to a certain degree, but when it comes to finishing off your seams, you cannot, because you will absolutely tear them apart. So for full smoothness, you are going to enjoy that carpal tunnel as you just painfully go through packet after packet after packet of wet sponges, because even with this, I went through 2 packets of 10 of 10 sanding sponges, because I sanded until there was nothing left on these bricks. So like, it will take a while.
And it is important to take your time. Like, it may sound very daunting of like, oh, projects can take months, or you can be working on something for so long, but it is worth putting that time into it, because if you rush it, there is some things that you might leave out. You might think, oh, nobody's gonna notice that. But sometimes it is worth putting the time into it and just like really focusing on the details, because even for personal satisfaction, it'll feel better when you finish it. The longest commission I ever did was for yourself, and it was the full medieval Batman armor, which took the guts of
6 months?
6 months.
I was paying that thing for 6 months.
Yeah.
Worth it.
And it was the longest project that I did, and as well being a full-time college student. But I didn't want to rush it just to get it to you, because I knew if I put the time on it, it really would like shine through.
And honestly, I love it. The only reason I'm here today is because I would need a suitcase and another suitcase. And I am here for a single day. I'm not bringing 2 suitcases to Dublin for 1 day. Not even, about 6 hours. So, what should I use for painting and weathering if I wanted to do that?
It depends on how damaged you want your gear to look. So, like Sylvander's gauntlets here, which are my pride and joy. The likes of the bronze you see on top, that was a spray can from Aldi. Aldi is a wonderful place to get. So if you're looking for tools and you're looking to start off making costumes, they sell Dremels there. They sell hot glue guns. They sell wireless ones, which for me, when I'm traveling abroad and something breaks, it's always great to have. Hot glue pens as well. So not even just a gun, there's a hot glue pen you can get. Great to travel with, and it's good for patching up small little details if something breaks. They also sell wireless soldering pens, which I absolutely adore, because again, the big suit you see up behind us there, an hour before that photo shoot, I went on to it. It was about an hour, wasn't it? Yeah, it was an hour before we went on to the photo shoot, and I'd done a 360 booth. And if it wasn't for that 360 booth, I wouldn't have seen my entire back had cracked. And it could have happened on the flight, it could have happened in the convention. You have no idea when it was, but as soon as I stepped off the platform, I could see myself in the video. I went, damn, damn, damn. I didn't say damn, but children present. So they said damn, and the guy started panicking because he thought the camera had broken my suit. And I was like, no, no, no. If it wasn't for your camera, I wouldn't know I'm falling apart. Literally. But it was fun. It was great to have that soldering pen, because I was sitting outside the hotel, cigar on one side, soldering away, and while the convention centre is emptying out, and there was about 20,000 people a day, probably a bit more than DCC, people are getting a free show because they're trying to figure out, what the hell is he doing? Why is he poking at his chest? Yeah.
Sorry.
That's the best way I can describe it, because all you see is a weird guy just kind of hunched over, just looking. So, but where's it going with it? For painting wise, sorry. When it comes to painting wise, so when you look at the weathered effect on this gauntlet, it looks wonderful. It looks like it's gone through the mill. I sprayed that black first, then I sprayed the gunmetal on top of it. Then between all that, I put toothpaste on top of the gun. Now you're wondering why toothpaste? Some people use what's the stuff we were talking about earlier?
Liquid latex.
Liquid latex. Thank you. Liquid latex is expensive, and we're all trying to make the costume look great and save money. So toothpaste, it doesn't absorb the paint. So as soon as you put the toothpaste on, if you use a toothbrush or even a small brush, you're just flicking it on certain spots, places where you think it'll be weathered, especially with the gauntlet, because it's been used in a mine. It looks like copper. It needs to look like it's weathered and gone through the worst of it. Toothpaste along the edges will help, because since the paint doesn't absorb into it, as soon as the rest of the gauntlet is dry, you take a wet piece of paper, just wipe it away. It's gone, and you'll be left with the original colour underneath. So if you want to have a look at the gauntlets later on, you'll see the gunmetal shining through it, and the black as well. That's what gives it the animated effect, because it's black underneath it first, and all the extra bits are just steel on top of it. So toothpaste is a wonderful thing to have in your arsenal.
For me, it is gunmetal paint from Woody's, also red primer from Woody's.
Same with them.
Yeah, handy.
Woody's.
Yeah, Woody's great. And then Warhammer miniature paint. I use that on several pieces of my armour. Most notably, actually, is the collar. It's just painted using, like hand painted using the Warhammer paint. You can get some slight details in with that.
For myself, when it comes to damage anyway, now this may not be the safest thing, but I like to really save my money, and I take pliers and I take a sewing needle, I put under a candle, and I draw in scratches that I think would be there, and then for dents, so like I have a dent here. I end up getting, because I do archery, I have some specialty tools for making arrows. It's like a special kind of like lighter, and I just literally light, shove my finger in, and even though it's boiling.
We just talked about personal safety.
Yes, I know.
Don't try this at home.
Yes, please,
Do what
please.
they say, not what they do.
Exactly. I will be a hypocrite here, okay? But then for props, I use, you know those round makeup brushes? I use that and a bit of oil paint, and I just rub it in, and it's great. It's great for props, but then for armors, I would use acrylic paint, water it down, let it sit, like absolutely cover the entire piece for about 5 minutes, let it dry, and then just start wiping it off. Some people use tissue. Please don't do it, because that can easily rub off more paint than what you want. Also, sometimes tissue breaks off. I usually use a cheap microfiber towel, soak it, then rinse it out. You just want it damp, and you just wipe off, and it'll stick there. You may have to do multiple rounds, but personally that's my favorite way when it comes to at least anything that's silver. But if it's going to be gold, use teal and burnt umber for washes.
The majority of things I make don't need to look too weathered, but they do need to look metallic. So what I found to be the best for me is car paints. My local car shop loves me now. They love my business because I'm always in getting the different colours.
Alfred's?
No, there's one I live in a very small town, and there's one in the town. It's just like a small business as well, so it feels great getting to support their business. But car paints, you can get metallic paints. So they have kind of a very faint black in it, so they're not sparkly, but they do look metallic. And then this helmet here, the red on this comes in a tiny little can that I got from a hobby shop, which is for model cars. So it's two different types of cars that I use the paints for. But the model car paint is a bit more expensive, but I really love the quality and like the finish of it, so that is what I use for like Red Hood helmets. I've made quite a few Red Hood helmets now, and that is definitely my go-to. So car paints can have a great finish to them.
Is it difficult to travel with? As I stated earlier, the only reason I do not have Batman with me is because I need 2 suitcases, and I don't want to do that. I can only imagine yourself as a Spartan, and as the rest of you, you've got a lot thicker materials. What's that like? What's the real struggle?
It's so much fun. Just trying to get the storage for it. Luckily for cons, the Ludo Sport group, they usually just take my big massive box full of armour, or else I'd be in trouble. I just wouldn't have anywhere to put my gear. Not all of it even fits in the case that I have. We have to travel wearing half of it. It's a lot of fun. You get a lot of looks. It's great.
The big suit that you see on the screen. We had to travel to Birmingham last November with that suit, so we went on an aircraft with that suit. Now it's broken down into a box, but when you go to to security, and you go to oversized baggage as well, and you have to say to the gentleman there that there's certain objects in the box that may be of concern, and they go, what would be of concern? Well, there's a gun and a knife going into the box.
Don't forget the grenades.
Getting there. A gentleman at the oversized baggage drop asked, can we see the props? So I take out the knife. He's like, yeah, that's not what I'm really interested in seeing. So he puts the knife back. I hand him the gun. He looks at the gun. He pulls the slide back. He lets it go. He looks at it. He goes, there's a function. I said, no, grand. Picks up the phone. Yeah, it's John. There's a box coming down to you now in a second. There's a knife and a gun in it. Don't worry about it. I've checked it over. And hangs up. He says, is there anything else of concern in that box? I said, well, there's grenades and canisters on a grenade belt. And he's like, can I see them as well, please? So I open the box again, hand them the grenades. It's weird handing grenades on a grenade belt to a guy in security with people in the airport looking at you going, huh? He takes the grenade belt, looks it over. Nice job. Picks up the phone again. Hi, it's John again. In the same box, you've got the gun, the knife, and you've got canisters and grenades coming down. Nothing to worry about. So going back from Birmingham, that was even more fun. Because in airport security, we had a young gentleman, a guy no more than 18, working the baggage drop. And he's looking like he's bored out of his mind because nobody uses the oversized baggage drop. And I come over with my wonderful box and I tell him the same thing because we've got a nice little sticker on the front of the box that says all the components are 3D printed. There's nothing to be concerned about because Ryanair and any aircraft that comes out of Dublin will take water pistols off you. So the gun I have, which is in the photograph just about, it only has a slide that moves on an elastic band. So there's no mechanics inside it, so they can't exactly be upset with me. They can be, but that's a different story. But the young lad wasn't expecting anything. He says no, he's not letting the box through unless the aircraft line or the airliner says it's okay. We get a manager to say it's okay. He says, yeah, I still have to say no. So he calls the head of security of Birmingham Airport. He goes, Dad, can you come down here for a second, please? There's a guy here with a gun and knife and grenades looking to get onto the aircraft. So him and 6 other lads from the airport security wander down, all looking serious like, and they see myself and my mother sitting there in a wheelchair going, hi, so we're the ones with...
Not the whiskey.
Not whiskey, it's just
You
Coke.
saw nothing.
Just wondering that now. But he comes down and he goes, can I see what's in the box? So again, same routine. I show him the gun. He's like, okay, that's grand. He passes to the other 5 lads that are with him. He goes, okay, that's grand. He goes, can I see the rest of it? So I hand him the grenade belt and they all pass it around each other like it's show and tell. That's grand. Tell the son it's okay. Let him on. So traveling with suits can be fun. Just think about where you're going with the suits and just make them so you can actually travel home with them as well.
With myself, I used to use old IKEA bags and sports card bags because they were massive, but now I have upgraded to a 40-kilo suitcase. And so the benefit of using foam is you can basically put everything inside each other and have them very flexible like this. It's great. Like I'd show it better with the leg armor, but I'm currently taped in right now. But it's also about making it modular, so at least with foam, it's flexible enough. You throw some of your clothes between each layer because pressure, when it comes to foam being on each other, it will start to rip the paint off at times. But in general, EVA foam, relatively easy to travel with, although you will find it to be a massive pain because you need to practice and practice and practice how you are storing it. Like, yeah.
I'd say one of the most annoying things about traveling with 3D prints is, unlike the foam, it is very rigid in it. There is no flexing in it. So I have to travel with 3D prints a lot because during commissions I usually offer that I can give them to people usually in Dublin, and I live in Louth. So I am traveling up to Dublin all the time with my huge suitcase. And as I mentioned, my father, he works in a warehouse, so he's always taking scraps of foam and bubble wrap and anything that we use to wrap to make sure things don't scratch. I tend to wrap everything, if there's multiple pieces, I wrap it all individually in a foam so that they don't rub off of each other. And then we unfortunately did have one incident with yourself where both of us were on the way to convention. We had your Batman suit in one and my Robin suit in the other. So this is where you need to be very careful with what suitcases you use. The suitcase mine was in had 4 wheels on the bottom. It was very sturdy, but the suitcase that yours is in only had the 2 wheels. It was let go for a second on the dart. It tipped over, and it fell quite hard, so it did get a crack. Which we fixed it.
It was fixed.
Yep. There's no crack anymore. But that was devastating. So I said, after working on it for like the 6 months, just seeing it fall, oh, my heart sank because I knew that it was packed in too tightly and that the suitcase wasn't steady. And so I was like, I should have been more cautious about what I was putting the suit into. So that is my advice. Be very aware of the container you're using.
So here's examples of Irish Spartans' best builds. Very nice.
Thank you.
We've got some now here. Very nice, very nice. Here's some. Oh, who's that at the end? That's one good looking lad at the end, isn't it? I let him host the panel.
Who shot those?
But this is Kit's best builds. There's the Armourers bat armor. That Captain America one was actually at the Irish premiere of that movie, so.
Yeah, that cosplay there is CA Armour cosplay. His name's Carl. He is absolutely lovely, and he loves Sam Wilson. He does many cosplays. He commissioned me for that helmet, and that cosplay, along with his other Sam Wilson cosplays, got him invited by Disney to the Captain America Brave New World premiere. And then he extended one of his +1 invites to me, and it was a lovely event to be able to attend.
Very young, very young. And here we have Dorian with his beautiful, beautiful Halo cosplays. Goddamn. I actually want to know.
We want more.
So, have we got any questions from the audience? Yeah. I'll go with you first because you're closer to me.
When it comes to prop farmers, are you ever worried about like the environment and how that goes in? Because like when you use, for example, foam and there's a mistake or there's a mistake in the 3D printer, like when you have the resins, you just can't throw it out. Does that ever like what do you use to help keep it more?
Yeah, I try to have as little waste as possible, which you can do just by being very careful when you're printing in the first place, making sure your printer's going to work and it's not going to mess up. But you do still get left with a lot of supports and stuff. And one thing you can do with them is if you get oven-safe, like silicone molds, you can put your supports or any broken parts in there, melt it down, add some more, melt it down again, and then you can make little plastic little trinkets or keychains and stuff from the supports, and that way it gets rid of that waste.
When it comes to foam, there's a huge amount of waste that can happen, but generally, if it's the size of my palm, it goes into a bag that I have just for it, because you might end up using it. I know it can be very, very wasteful, unfortunately, because with 3D prints, you more get the products than the supports. There can be something done. There's nothing you can do with the waste, unfortunately, with foam, or nothing like making trinkets or whatever. But in general, it's more about doing everything to reduce the waste by getting everything right. And even when it comes to hot glue, for example, what I do is when a stick gets too short, I basically made a mold. I just put each teeny little bit, or any leftover strands, I just put them in a jar, build them up, and I put them into a mold, and I just keep on reusing, melting them by putting them in the oven, so that I have new sticks every time.
When it comes to 3D printing, you are going to end up with loads of waste. Some prints, like if you look at the helmet here, on the inside there you can see there's very little scarring on the inside. And you can see the lines on the outside, but it's just scarring. It's going to happen with printing. For a lot of my prints, I always set a tree option. So when it's printing supports, instead of just being a straight line up, it creates a tree effect and it creates branches. That gives it more support. So something that has a dome, that's again, go back to the helmet, as it prints up, it'll cover more surface spaces. So as it's printing, it's going to give it more support, and it means the helmet's not just going to collapse or fall over when you're halfway through a print. So 18 hours is gone, and you're just left with a spaghetti monster. Normally I bring a couple of waste prints I was going to bring with me today. It's pretty much when the print fails, it just keeps printing. So every printer, unless it's a high-end one, is going to keep printing until it's finished its print. And when you've come back to it after 8 hours of not checking on it, you're left with a big spran of noodles on your printer bed. And there's nothing you can do with that. It's just waste. But instead of letting that, just tossing that into the bin, you can reuse it to solid your pieces. So the likes of Wrecker, or even the likes of Brian's suit, for the seams throughout the suit, so I'm just unfortunate to use it as an example, there's a couple of seam lines there. There are some seam lines then, just about, because he's done such a good job, and I'm trying to see where they are, just to point out. But underneath the suit, because it looks fantastic on the outside, underneath it is where all the work is going to be in. So instead of just throwing the waste pieces into the bin, you can melt them down using a soldering iron or the pyrography pen. and you can push that plastic back into the suit. So instead of just letting it go to waste, you can reuse it and strengthen up your suit. So instead of just doing a seam line, you can melt the entire inside the suit and just make it one solid piece. That will give it more support and it won't break. Like Vander's gauntlets, now most of them were lucky enough in one solid piece, but there are some. Did I hit the mic? Oh, didn't hit the mic. Like the sides here, one piece broke off when I was trying to take it off the bed, because unfortunately when it popped off, the arm bounced off the back wall of the printer and it just waddled over. So instead of just going, damn, I need to reprint it again, I stuck that, held it on tight, used contact adhesive underneath it, and used a soldering pen with waste piece of supports, and just welded the lines. This one or this one? I've done too much of a good job, I don't know which one it is. Probably the one that's down there, but there are supports there that were melted down and put back into the print. So instead of just tossing them into the bin, that's a way to reuse the pieces. So if I'm ever entering a contest, like, yeah, I do use recycled pieces, mostly because it's a prop that I had that failed and I need to put it somewhere else that's not on the shelf and annoying me because it's just sitting there. So I melt that piece down as much as I can and put it back into a new costume.
For me, I use some failed prints. For example, like we were making helmets 2 years ago. We had about halfway up, as Sean said, failed, and would do the spirally webbing.
Monster.
Yeah, spaghetti monster. But the other half of the print was still good to use as like for testing paints. So we would test our paints out on these pieces, how much we would have to sand them to get rid of linings, all that, just kind of practice with them. In terms of supports, I play D&D. Sometimes I bring some of the support pieces, even when we were using foam, some of the offcuts. I bring them over to me DM, go, look, you can use them for making your maps, do whatever. He'd use them then, you'd get a use out of it. Some stuff would still go in the bin, unfortunately, but a lot of it would still get a reuse.
I'm going to have to call it now, lads, because we have a minute to get out of here. But I really do want to thank everyone for coming in. I apologize for not getting to that last question. Thanks for listening to us. And we really do appreciate you guys turning out. Thank you very much.